They've known it's been there because French astronomer with the calculations found out that Uranus and Neptune had a little dimple in their orbits. So they surmised that there's some other planet out there. So they've been looking for this planet since the early 80s. So you have the different articles here from New York Times, Newsweek. They launched the. Let me find the one I want to get here. Does the sun have a dark companion? This odd behavior suggests that the sun has an unseen companion, a dark star gravitationally bound to it but billions of miles away, or a 10th planet of 47 billion miles away. So, if you come down here, they found it. They launched the IRIS. The IRIS is an infrared telescope. Okay, its mission lasted 10 months. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but it stopped on November 22nd, which we all know what that day is.
What is it?
That's the day that Kennedy was assassinated. Not that particular day, but November 22nd. The observatory also made headlines briefly with the discovery of an unknown object that was first described as possibly as large as the giant planet Jupiter and is possibly so close to Earth it would be part of our own solar system. So, they made this discovery, and then they announced it. Orbiting Eye reveals mystery space monster. This was in the Washington Post. Heavenly body is possibly as large as Jupiter. Keep in mind, it says, have been found in the direction of the constellation Orion. Okay? Remember Orion, because it's going to come into play in a little bit. As close to Earth as 50 billion miles. So they announced what they found. And then in what is this, the 1987 New Science and Invention Encyclopedia, they actually showed you that they were sending the Pioneer spacecraft out to look at the dead star and the 10th planet. This was right in the encyclopedia. This is a scan right out of it. So they made all these big announcements. And then all of a sudden, they just shut up about it. All of a sudden, it just stopped. So in the 80s, 1980, how many of you are familiar with the Georgia Guidestones? Pretty much everybody? Yeah, okay. What we're going to concentrate on here is one thing, that word right there, maintain. You all know that the elites are so hubris, if they wanted to reduce population, they would just say, reduce population. Okay, maintain is a word that means after the fact. It's something that happens after an event. They want to maintain humanity after a certain event. These are how big the Georgia Guidestones are. They're written in 10 different languages.
Who built those?
Unknown.
Oh. What country are they in?
The United States.
Georgia.
They're in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
And basically the story behind this, right here is the whole story. Wired Magazine did an in-depth article about it. They sent some reporters down there. The guy that went in to pay for this, he paid $1.6 million and had this thing built, and he wanted it to withstand big waves and earthquakes and high winds and all that stuff. Okay, so and he also instructed it, he wanted it to be a timepiece. The astronomic features basically so that if there was any kind of shift of the world of our poles or anything, that they could recalibrate how many days are in a year, how much time is in a day. So in the Guidestone you have this, alright, you have this hole through the side which actually puts a dot on the floor at exactly noon every day. So it allows them to be able to recalibrate. Now you also notice the date on here, March 22nd, okay? That day comes into play with the Skull and Bones once again. That's their official number there, 322. Here you have our friend Mr. Prescott Bush, that was one of the Skull members there. Yeah. So, and then you have good old Georgie with his Freemason buddies. So here's the article on that. You can read up about all this. I highlighted all the important stuff in red. Move on to the next thing. So, 1982, what happens? They deregulated the economy because they knew they had to create endless funds in order to prepare for this event. So, during the Reagan administration, they basically deregulated. I mean, this is the Dow index right here. You can see where they basically opened up the floodgates to allow the powers that be to create endless amounts of funds. So, we had the Rex 84 program. Here's a video about that. I'm going to play it real quick.
Reagan was elected to the presidency. He installed Louis Giuffrida as head of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Giuffrida was an old cold warrior from Reagan's California days, whose specialty was suppression of unrest and dissent. Giuffrida, North, and George Bush began to turn FEMA into an instrument of domestic anti-terrorism.
You're dealing with a group of people in the Reagan administration who equated political dissent with treason, and who can not differentiate between emergency procedures, which I think everyone agrees are necessary, and suppressing political dissent. And with North and Poindexter and Casey, you have a group of people who saw Americans who disagree with them as the enemy.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster? Mr. Chairman.
I believe that the question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir?
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I
most respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks, and he was stopped by the chairman.
So, you see that Rex 84 was the short for the Readiness Exercise 1904 is a plan by the United States federal government to test their ability to detain large numbers of refugees and American citizens in case of civil unrest or national emergency. They launched FOX back in 1986. Basically, FOX is a shoot-off company from the Sun Pictorial, which is actually founded September 11th, 1922. FOX. Some of you are not old enough, but some of you are old enough to understand how television changed after Fox came into the picture. Okay, network television kind of had morals at some point, and then all of a sudden Fox came in with their Married with Children, and everything changed after that. All the other networks had to keep up with them, with their on-the-edge type of programming. So Fox made a big dent in the way things work and with the media. So Iraq invades Kuwait for slant drilling. What a lot of people don't know is that there's a pretty good indication that they were set up, because right beforehand, Saddam Hussein met with our ambassador, and he said, we do not, let's see here, he said, but we have no opinion on Arab conflicts, like your border disagreement with Kuwait, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, they basically said, we're going to turn our backs while you do what you do. And as soon as they invaded, we acted like they were the worst enemy in the world.
So Kuwait was slant drilling into Iraq.
Yeah, well, that's what was said, was that Kuwait was slant drilling underneath the border into Iraqi oil, and that was the reason for invading.
And Lucas, may I respectfully say,
Sure.
leave Married with Children on this. That was a great show.
I'm sorry?
Married with Children, it
All right, let's see here. So Operation Desert Storm drops 177 million pounds of bombs on Iraq. I'm sure you've all seen the George W. Bush New World Order speech. Still have to play that? Y'all saw it already? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that happened on September 11th, 1991. Let's see here. So in 1993, the Vatican builds the VAT, which is the Advanced Technology Telescope. They spent a lot of money on this. It's in Arizona, and basically they muscled their way, and that's a whole different conspiracy in itself. If you want to check into that, they built that big old telescope. It cost them over $5 million. This is where it's going to get really weird. The Denver New World Airport. Okay. Built in March 1994, is built behind the highest mountain ranges in the United States. You notice it's called the New World Airport. It's got a time capsule underneath it, and it's got the little Freemasonic compass there. Here's the airport. Here's the biggest mountains in the continental United States. You've got Mount Princeton, Mount Harvard, Mount Yale. All right. There's the big mountain ranges. Now, This is where it really gets weird. When you get to the airport,